Hello everyone, this is the LEGO Technic Mercedes-AMG W14 Formula One car from the 2023 season. This comes with 1,642 pieces. It cost me $220 US, and I built it live during a charity stream over on Twitch. This model is about 64 centimeters in length, or about 25 inches, which makes it a pretty accurate 1/8 scale, which is the intent for this entire line of the larger Technic models that they put out these days in cars. They did introduce a new mold for the tires, so we actually get some slicks this time around, although they are the same size front to rear. We'll talk about that a little bit more. They also do have these nice wheel covers on here. This does have an engine in it, a little 6-cylinder that's actually built up, and it does have working steering. Now you can either use the controls in the cockpit, which have a little bit of give in there, there's a little bit of flex, but it does work, or you can use hand to God steering. But either way, with the weight of the vehicle and the use of the slick tires, it is a little bit difficult to get those tires to turn if it's actually on the ground. And that's completely understandable because, well, honestly, that's how it is in real life. These things don't have power steering, so you do need to have some heft in your arms to make that work. So it's all good. Yes, this does use a ton of stickers, but the stickers were, for the most part, not that difficult to apply. And with the black color scheme and the edges of most of the stickers, the borders and the cuts and everything being black also, it was very forgiving. So if you don't get something exactly right, you're still going to get something, you're still going to end up with a product that looks nice. You do fully build up a floor for this as well. The suspension works great. I'll show you more about that, but I just wanted to give you a general overview of what this looks like on display from a distance. My favorite part of this model as a model is the front end here, not necessarily of the entire real life car, but just what this looks like in here. It's done fantastically well because it does have separate elements for each of those sections there, and they're shaped nicely. They're different shapes arranged differently. You've got the end plates suggested out here that does use a sticker on the outside and one on the inside, either side, but it looks good. And then also just the nose here itself being rounded off like that. The angle of it, how everything fits in here. This actually was an interesting little sub-assembly and how that fit in fairly smoothly. And then they use the curved parts here rather than going to flat. They still use curves here, which helps it out even more. The buildup of the suspension is also definitely a highlight from an engineering perspective. It looks really good. You put together the A-arms as separate bits. I mean, it's not really A-arms in this case. This is separate, the front and rear strut segments, top and bottom, are separate pieces, but they do work together. And then, you've got the steering in there. Everything is nice and thin. That's what's most impressive about it to me. It's thin and yet it works. There's working suspension in there. These are push rods. They actually work. There are tiny little cantilevers here that actually work. And they don't bend themselves all apart. This is a fairly large model, and there's a lot of mechanical disadvantage on those pieces, and yet they're pretty well secured in there. There is some flex, there's some bending, but ultimately it is working well. And that is transferring motion into a pseudo shock, spring unit that is fully horizontal. Right there, you can see a bit of the barrel of it. That's what's actually being compressed. It's in a realistic position and it's arranged in a realistic way. That, I think, is a triumph, an absolute triumph. As someone who really appreciates suspension and has studied suspension a lot and worked with tuning them in working models, I love this. It's a little bit soft up front, just a bit. But it's in the range. It's in a reasonable range. Usually models and toys and things are way off. They're usually way too stiff, but this one's definitely in a reasonable range, and it holds the whole thing at a reasonable ride height as well. With droop, look at this, there's droop. When I lift the nose, the wheels actually fall a little bit. That's another thing you almost never see in models. Working, usable droop, unless it's a well-tuned racing remote control vehicle, radio control vehicle. You did see me push this in just a little bit. These are just a little bit loose. Sorry about the, it's a little bit difficult to get focus on black, but these I think could have been better better located, you know, to keep them in place. But it's not too bad. The little barge boards sticking out there, tiny little veins, little turning veins, are nice to see. The halo is built up here. I strongly recommend tightening this up just a little bit right here after bending it to its natural bend. I think it wants to stay a little bit too wide, which throws off the feeling of scale, makes it feel like the cockpit is larger than it actually is in the model itself. So yeah, I think just like try to push that in, just bend it in just a little bit, helps it. Here you got your side view mirrors, which are once again pretty thin as well. They should be small and lightweight looking and minimally effective. The little winglet segments out there on the sides. You do build up a seat in here. It does use just a couple of system pieces. It's mostly proper Technic pieces, but it's way too high. You know, it's up much higher than it would be in real life. Fortunately, everything being black, it doesn't really bother me. It doesn't really cause any issues with the look of this. And of course, you're not going to put an actual person in there. I don't know why the yoke, the steering control is offset. It's not like this is an oval car, so I don't know why that is offset by default to the side like that, but it is. I don't know if you can get it to be straighter than that. I did not try to adjust it to be straighter, but yeah, by default they want you to have it like that, which is weird, but it is what it is. They do use stickers for the controls there, so you can see a little bit of the the real life switches and knobs and things and buttons that would be there. The little camera stock right here is slightly used to take the hand of God steering piece and make it a little bit less visible. I think this is a reasonable place to put that. Only the brown color up here, I think, kind of betrays the fact that there is something separate there. I think if this had been a black piece or a gray piece or something, just something, you know, that wasn't a unique color throughout this, you'd barely be able to see it all at all. You've got the little side pods that, of course, didn't work at all on the actual car. And then, well, somebody else was able to make the same kind of overall aero concept work. But in here, you've got some nice bending, some nice shaping. Once again, using a lot of rounded panel pieces to get shaping all around this in different directions. I actually feel like this shaping right here is very, very good. There's a piece that I personally had not seen before with this concave curved panel piece, which is also used for the wing. That's useful. You know, there are gaps here, and clearly you can see a little bit of stuff on the inside of this. Some of these pieces, I think, count as parts that should have been made in black. I am generally fairly forgiving, more forgiving than many people, of off-colored parts that Lego uses to make the build process much easier, much simpler for folks who are not like me, for folks who are not like most of the people who are going to comment on this video, but just average folks who are not super into Lego or not super picky about Lego, who just enjoy building something and then ending up with something that looks good in general from a distance. I'm usually not as picky as some folks, and I appreciate that extra effort. But on a big collector model, I do want colors like that in there to be hidden a little bit better. I just don't want them to be as visible from the outside. I'm used to all the little things that, you know, that show up, but interior pieces I definitely want to be hidden. And I will still talk about exterior stuff when it does bug me extra much. Extra fin is used back here. So that's just kind of embedded in a little bit to get that blade edge. And then underneath here, you can just pull all this up. It's not really attached with any pins or anything. So it just kind of sits into place, which is convenient to be able to get access to this, to be able to see the engine block in there. Sorry about that. Again, having trouble with focus because it's all black on black, but that's all hooked up. They use the clear cylinders, which is perfect because you can see right through. It's not the most realistic thing, and it shouldn't be, but you know, I think this is doing it right for Technic. It's just For folks who have been into Technic for a long time, you remember those exact pieces. And it's just, yeah, you feel that. If you've not been into Technic for a long time, you still get to come here and you're like, what? It's clear? That's so cool. And you can watch it happen. This does have a differential in the rear, which does work. It's up a bit high. Yeah, but there it is. And you do just transfer the motion a little bit vertically before getting there, but it does, it does its job. It's not locked up. It's not semi-lock either. But what is most interesting for me is this rear end is not done the same as the front end. Accurately, they are using pull rods. And they work. See, it's attached up to the top. Once again, the shock absorbers, or the springs, in this case, the spring struts, are horizontal and down underneath there. Let's see if I can, yeah, there we go. You can see it from under here. Perfect. And it works, and it's not bending itself into a pretzel, which honestly it easily could if this was not as carefully designed as it is. That's good. The rear is actually a bit stiffer than the front. This actually feels better to me than the front did, but quickly just drop this back in, kind of practically self-aligns. That's good. Oh yeah, this wing also uses the concave shaped panel pieces here, which is to good effect. And you can adjust this, right? So you can suggest the DRS bypass going on there. Actually, more than this, I like the shaping of these little winglets at the ends. The end, I guess they're kind of end plates, aren't they? They're just angled in. That's pretty good. And then you got your indicator light here at the back. A little bit of additional diffuser shaping around here also. And just generally, this looks good from most angles. We need to look at this detail right here as well. This is a nice wheel cover piece. And then you've got a printed hub, little just system piece there in the center. And the slicks, they're good. You mount them up. It feels like mounting hard compound RC car tires, semi-pneumatic, just with no foams on the inside. But it feels pretty proper to me. Pretty happy with that. Let's take a look at the whole thing on the underside, just so you know. You know, the lowest point on it is pretty consistent all the way across. Yeah, you got cutaways and everything, but the cutaways are smart. For example, being able to see the engine. I've complained about this quite extensively, and quite many people have, about Technic things that are complex and don't let you see that complexity after you've built it. Like, for example, that Porsche, the orange Porsche 8th scale, where you do the whole engine and the whole working transmission, and then you never see it again. They learned from that feedback, and just leaving that completely open, I think was deliberate. I think was intentional. Being able to see some of this stuff is a good thing, rather than covering it up. So I appreciate that. And just generally, this feels satisfying to me. The whole thing feels like it's been designed with good intent. Not too many wasted pieces, that's for sure. Throughout the whole thing, I did not feel like I was doing busy work. I didn't feel like I was doing a lot of fill, but at the same time, there are not a whole lot of super noticeable gaps throughout this. So it still, I think, presents well. But more importantly, the engineering and the mechanisms are done well. It's too bad about this and this being the same, huh? The leftover pieces are nothing to write home about. The most interesting things here are the 1x1 little printed hub piece, the 2 long red bar, and then a black Baraki eye. But this certainly will bring a lot of stress and physical pain to folks who are allergic to stickers. There's nothing unusual about this for a model kit. For normal things in the model world, the scale world. Oh, there's this one too. But folks who have only ever done Lego, really typically hate stickers. I'm not nearly as much against them as most folks are, as I have plenty of experience in radio control cars and plastic model building where stickers are normal. Worse than stickers, water slides. are normal, where you have to cut every single one out. Worse than water slides, dry transfers, where you have to cut every one out and then carefully mount it temporarily and then carefully transfer it, and you have to seal it after it's all done and everything. But yeah, this is a sticker sheet. I do like how, or these are the sticker sheets. I do like how they were arranged though, to basically follow the design of the car. So you've got front end here, right, middle of the fuselage, and you've got rear wing elements. It's pretty much laid out that way in a very sensible way. Wastes a little bit of space, and I appreciate the heck out of that because it makes it a lot easier to find these things. The only thing that's unfortunate is that as you're building, especially early on, you pull a little bit from the front, you work your way towards the back, and then you suddenly are grabbing from this sheet instead. So if you have enough space in your workspace where you're building to have both of these out, kind of just have a spot for this one, a spot for this one, it makes it easy. But if you've got them like this, then you're going to be switching back and forth. That's the worst I can say about it. Just generally, I think that good work was done with this within the context of this kind of world where stickers do exist. Again, this cost me $220 US plus tax. It's 219 euros. It's 190 pounds UK, or $290 Canadian plus tax as well there, for 1,642 pieces. It's a lot of money, but it's also a lot of car. Really, the black color scheme, primarily black color scheme, is the saving grace of this thing because it makes it look classy. Even though, yes, it does have some gaps. Yes, it does have the typical Technic, all the colors, you know, for the connector pieces and everything. But ultimately, it pulls it off, in my opinion. And for the price, you're not going to get this much stuff in officially licensed Formula One or other high-end motorsports car model. I think for less. It's still a lot, definitely, but for what you get here, I'm pretty happy with everything except for the size of the rear tires. Honestly, that's it. I think they might have been able to make a tire that would fit this same wheel that would have been wide enough, you know, just extend it out both directions. Might have been a little bit awkward. I'm just thinking what they could have done to not have to do all new molds for everything for that, including the wheels, like they did for the Harley Davidson motorcycle, which I am positive that the IP partner, Harley Davidson themselves, said, no, you're going to put a fat tire on the back of that thing, or we're not going to be releasing this. You know, you're not going to use the same size tire front and rear. It's too bad that there wasn't able to be that kind of IP partner pressure on this, because yeah, the Formula One cars need bigger tires. It doesn't matter whether it's the 8th scale, whether it's the 11th scale, whether it's the Speed Champions, whatever scale that is. The rears need to be bigger. But fortunately, at least these days, the difference from front to rear isn't as great as it was in the past. So from many angles, this is passable, I think, until a Formula One fan looks at it carefully and notices, wait a minute, you know. But overall, I'm very happy with this thing. I'm much happier with it, in fact, than I thought I would be. Significantly so. It really looks good from so many angles, especially from the front kind of quarter angles, which are the best ones, you know, the ones that I want to be displaying it from. Or if you do like this is where you start to see the width of the tires, unfortunately, a little more. But overall, yeah, I'm happy with the thing. I don't think that the price is too ridiculous. And gosh, that suspension is amazing. The fact that, I mean, it almost feels right too. Whew. Remote DRS would have been nice, but generally pretty satisfied with this thing. So thank you for watching. Hope that you enjoyed watching this, and thank you to the community on Twitch for helping to make this possible with their direct support. I don't do a whole lot of Technic stuff, and because there are Technic specialists out there, you know, folks looking for Technic reviews typically don't come to me, which means it's very difficult for me to justify purchasing something like this, even though I got it and wanted it because I wanted it, specifically as a Lewis fan. But The folks on Twitch really helped with the crowdsourcing of funding for this. So I very, very much appreciate that. And I will be keeping this because I want it. I like it. Makes me happy. I'll be putting it on display somewhere. But again, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.